Welcome to Electric Boogaloo Part 2, a podcast dedicated to the glory that is the movie sequel. On this show, you'll join myself, Tadj Hodges, along with co-host Steven Romo, in a monthly discussion with a guest who feels particularly passionate about yet another Part 2 film. We hope to bring to light the beauty, the horror, the desperate money grabs, and the welcome second acts that make up the sequels we hate to love and love to hate. Stephen and myself make no claims to be experts in film, nor do we claim the rights to any of the films we review. We just feel passionately about dumb stuff and we're bored. If you're bored too and have ever played Electric Boogaloo, this might just be the podcast for you. Welcome to Electric Boogaloo Part 2. This is episode 103 of Electric Boogaloo. Today we will be discussing the cinematic romp Back to the Future Part 2. With me as always, you know him, you love him, Steven Yanez Romo.
Hello.
Hello again. Steven did a performance at Flycatcher last night for the Emo Night Tucson live show with his band Ghostal.
Fun.
It was awesome. I got some video footage. They did some awesome covers. They did a Fugazi song.
We pulled a rabbit out of our hat.
Yes.
Because we only had one rehearsal and it was that day, and we just did it. It was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was up front, crooning, or not crooning, fawning like a young girl.
You looked
crying.
You looked awesome. You looked you looked like an undercover police officer at a high school party that I used to go to. But and all the same music was playing. It was like who's the narc?
Yeah, I was definitely narc-esque last
night. So to give you an idea of what Tadj looked like last night, he was wearing a Sunny Day Real Estate shirt, and he didn't gel down his hair. He lotioned his hair down.
I don't have any gel right now.
So the only way that I can describe the way he looked, think of if Garth Brooks' alter ego. Chris Gaines was an undercover police officer at a house party in 2000.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's
I was going, actually, it's funny because it ties into today. I was going for more of a Crispin Glover kind of a thing, but it didn't work out very well. Anyhow, so yes, we are here again, like I mentioned, to talk about Back to the Future 2. We, of course, have a guest with us today. You know him, Tucson. He's one of your favorite karaokeers. You probably remember him historically from Music Video, which our producer Justin Miller was also a part of. More recently, you can see him performing Flycatcher. I think it's the first Wednesday of every month for the Piano Lovers Lounge.
That right.
That's right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Paul Jenkins.
Hello.
Paul, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited about this because, I don't know, you tend to be pretty verbose about the things that you enjoy. So I'm hoping that we can get some good conversations started.
I can't wait to disappoint you.
I know. I'm excited for the disappointment.
Do you even remember what we just did? We just sat through 2 Back to the Future movies.
I was just quoting the shit.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily...
We were pre-quoting it.
It was all second nature to you.
Which, we have to admit, I do it a lot, but I can wholeheartedly understand that it's the most obnoxious thing you could possibly do during a movie, is to say the line just moments before the actual person is going to say
or like the worst is to like stop him and just like, hold on. I think he stole his wallet.
I let that happen though, I think.
That one you did.
One.
That's a golden moment, and you realized that, and I think we all appreciate it.
I needed Miller to appreciate
Thanks
that.
for stepping back, man.
So, as most of you who have maybe listened, I don't know, but if you don't know...
So none of you.
All you regulars out there.
All you regulars that are listening yet again, know the purpose of this podcast, of course, is to bring someone in that enjoys a sequel to a film and might even state that they enjoy it more than the original. So, Paul here has, on multiple occasions with me in our times together, mentioned how much he enjoys Back to the Future 2.
Love it.
Love it. How you said recently, like you watch it on a regular basis.
I've seen it within the past 6 months.
Yeah.
not on DVD. I own the DVD. Not on Netflix. I own the DVD trilogy. So I watched it on my cathode ray tube TV set. And there's just little moments everywhere in the movie that you catch.
I think it's cool.
Like I think he took his wallet.
His wallet. Well,
he does say that 4 times. But.
He does say it 4. I mean, there's 2 moments, and they're both solid moments in that story. Right after Michael J. Fox knocks out Biff, we'll get to that eventually after we go through the synopsis. But
keep your damn hands off her, Biff.
But for those of you that are regular listeners, you also know that what we just did was we marathoned both Back to the Future 1 and 2 to really make sure that point, that love of the sequel is not just some kind of nostalgia that we're holding on to, that it actually is. There are some reasons it has merit. So before we get too deep into this conversation, we're going to go ahead and start off with Romo giving us a little bit of a synopsis of Back to the Future 1, just in case you're one of the 7 people in the world that hasn't seen that movie.
Yeah, so it starts off with Marty McFly going to Doc's home lab, if you will,
right.
Like his house, but there's all kinds of shit everywhere. And he goes in and he plugs into like this crazy amp that they never explain why it was ever built. And Marty McFlies through the room because he plugs in and the speakers explode. Yeah, like that. I'm trying to. So the
it's understandable that the opening sequence sticks with you that much because that is an amazing sequence.
It's
honestly.
really good.
Like we were watching it today and I was like, shit, this is really well done.
So much
you don't see Marty's face until after the speaker blows him across the room, and then he's like, whoa. What does he say?
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Like a shrug, like rock and roll.
Exactly. And from that moment on, you know who Marty McFly is. So they did that scene really well.
So there's like some Libyan ultra-nationalist.
It just jumps right to
that.
No, hold on. So there's like this news report talking about stolen plutonium.
Oh, right.
And I was fucking getting to it. Guys, Jesus. So, there's news report that plutonium was stolen, and the newscaster admits that, like, we think it's, like, this Libyan, like, terrorist group that stole it. So, that's happening, and then somehow it shows just Marty being a badass, and then he meets up with Doc, and he's like, meet me at the Twin Pines Mall at, 9:15?
1:25 a.m.
1 in the morning.
Okay, so it's 1 in the morning.
1:15.
Marty McFly's family are fucking losers. Like, it's crazy. So he's at his house talking to his family. The family's fucked up. He goes to the mall. He meets up with Doc. They unveil the fucking DeLorean.
Beautiful
and
scene.
there's a ridiculous amount of smoke.
Yeah, it's a very Close Encounters. E.T.
meets a
you can
Kiss
tell, like
concert.
it's Spielberg being Spielberg. I think, like he didn't direct this.
He stepped in on that scene.
Yeah. This was actually it was Robert Zemeckis that actually directed it, but you can tell that Spielberg definitely had his hand in those like magical moments.
Yeah. So DeLorean is showcased. Doc gives Marty a camcorder, and he's like, "I need you to document this shit." And turns out that Doc was commissioned by the Libyan terrorists to steal the plutonium and to make a bomb. And Doc's like, fuck that shit, dude. I'm gonna make a fucking time machine. Because that's what anyone else would do. Makes the time machine. He makes Marty show him putting a vial of plutonium into the DeLorean. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking time travel right now, so check this shit out. So
breaks out the remote control.
Yeah, sends his dog back in time.
We are really dissecting this movie.
Fuck yeah.
I like it though. I like this.
Yeah, so dog goes back in time, Einstein, and then he shows back up, and it turns out that when you time travel, you go back a minute.
No, you just don't lose any time. It happens instantaneously.
Right, exactly. So what happens is they send
Einstein
into time. They send him a minute into the future, and so a minute of dialogue follows right after that moment when he goes through time. And that's why Doc, when his watch beeps, he goes, "Oh, get out of the way!" Because that's indicating that minute has passed and Einstein is back.
And his clock still says the same time as when he left.
Because it's exactly 1 minute.
Yeah, that's right. So Doc's like, this is about to go down. I'm gonna do my shit. And then guess what happens? The fucking Libyan terrorists show up. It always happens.
In a Volkswagen van.
In a Volkswagen bus. So they show up with like machine guns, and I'm pretty like, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure the actors that they got to play the Libyan ultra-nationalists were just Mexican dudes. And
that were in the area, yeah.
It looked really weird. It looked really terrible. So, like, they like roll up on Doc, and they're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, this is it. And they fucking just murk Doc right in front of Marty McFly.
He straight gets murked.
So Marty McFly is like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, hops in the DeLorean, he's being chased by the Libyan terrorists, and then he hits 88 miles an hour, and he goes back in time to 1955. And that's when his life gets flipped upside down. So he
gets more than he bargained for.
He's really bargained for. He drives into a barn, and then he moves his car.
Scene by scene.
Yeah, so Marty McFly almost gets shot by like this really fast moving farmer.
This old man. Family. What's his name? We know his name. It's because he had the idea about farming.
Peabody.
Old man Peabody.
Yeah.
He had this crazy idea about farming pine trees.
Because Marty hits a pine tree on the way out. But let's keep going.
So Marty McFly goes to the little like soda shop, and he finds Doc's home address, and Doc was explaining that he had the idea of the flux capacitor when he hit his head and drew it out. So Marty McFly meets up with Doc, and he's like, I'm from the future, this and that. Finally convinces him, oh dude.
That's
right.
So Gizmo made his appearance in this podcast. Gizmo is a cat, and he's kind of a curious butthole of a cat. So he just knocked over one of my.
All right, so he meets up with Doc, and he's like still not convinced, and then he shows him the DeLorean and shows him the flux capacitor, and it's like, oh fuck, that's my shit.
I drew that.
So he goes to high school, and then he meets his dad, and his dad's a fucking square, and Biff is just like all over his shit, and he keeps calling Marty a chicken, and he gets fucking angry, and then he meets his mom, and his mom's like smoking hot, and they like almost do it, and it's really weird, and then and there's a picture that keeps like deteriorating. He's like, dude, like I gotta get my hot mom with this fucking dweeb ass dad together.
There you go.
So.
I don't cease to exist.
Right. So Marty McFly becomes his father's mentor, like kick-ass dude.
Okay. We can explain at least why that happens. Okay, so the whole point of this movie is Marty goes back to 1955. He gets stuck. The DeLorean that brought him there is out of plutonium. He can't get back to 1985, his timeline. He runs into Doc Brown, but trying to find him, he inadvertently interrupts the meeting of his parents. In the beginning of the movie, they tell this story of how they met, or at least his mom does, and he ends up being the one that she meets. So because of that, he is being erased from time. I think that's important that people understand that point.
Yeah. So there's like this dance coming up, and so he like Marty goes to the dance with his mom. But then he sets him up with George McFly, and then like also like Marty's like just gets on stage and he starts shredding because like he beats up Biff, and then he runs away, and then the band saves him because they like Biff and company throw Marty into a trunk, and he gets saved. The guitarist rips his hand open. Marty goes in with the guitar.
Martin
starts shredding.
And it's important to point out that Marvin gave a call to his cousin Chuck Berry.
Is this important? Is this really?
That was the birth of rock and roll.
Yeah, the birth of rock and roll might be important.
It's thanks to Marty McFly that Chuck Berry learned how to play rock and roll.
Oh shit! So way back in the movie, Marty McFly does a talent contest, and fucking Huey Lewis is like, no, like you guys are too loud. So Huey Lewis isn't a musician at all. He's like a school principal.
Yes.
So okay, going forward, Marty McFly shreds. George McFly and his hot ass mom they like do it. It's cool.
They kiss.
They like kiss.
They kiss, and she realizes that it's like kissing her brother.
Oh, he was talking about.
I was talking about George McFly.
Oh, George.
So they kiss.
Oh, right.
The picture starts filling back up, so everything's fine.
Woo.
And how do they get? Oh yeah. So there's like this crazy lightning storm that's gonna happen that night, and
that Marty knew about.
Because it broke the clock tower. So
Save the clock tower.
Doc makes this like diagram of the downtown area is like
It's more than a diagram. It's a full scale model.
Yeah, it's a model.
It's a beautiful
It's an
model.
Unnecessarily very
specific,
exact, precise.
Well, because he
model.
freaked out about 1.21 gigawatts and like
gigawatts. We'll say gigawatts or gigawatts.
Gigawatts.
The way they pronounce it.
The way he pronounces it. People actually talk about the fact that that's mispronounced in the movie.
Because we know gigabytes now, so we can't.
We can't be talking about gigabytes.
No. So so this.
I wonder how much gigabytes this podcast is going to take up.
So
we're going scene by scene.
Dude, what if it's 1.21?
I'm so close to finishing this. I'm so close to finishing this. So lightning's gonna hit the clock tower at this precise moment. Doc makes this string of like copper wiring connected to the part of the clock tower that gets struck, and if Marty goes 88 miles an hour with like this other conducting rod downtown, the minute or the actual exact moment
second
that lightning hits the clock tower and he hits the coil, he's back.
Back in 1985. Back to the.
Oh, but there's so much I can talk about though. The letter.
We're not talking about specific details.
That is
See, what the deal was, you're supposed to give us a synopsis.
Yeah.
Which you did.
It's like
it was
the
just to give us a synopsis of
Marty
the
McFly.
scenes.
Yeah. All right, so he goes back to the future, and then everything's fine. Actually, everything's fucking dope as shit.
His dad is cool now.
His dad's super cool. Marty gets
He's
a
running sci-fi
super
books and
woke
shit,
truck.
Oh yeah.
And then his girlfriend, they're like ready for the big date, And
this is a criticism of this movie was that his reward for the whole shebang is he got this truck. It was like the materialism of the 80s.
Oh, absolutely.
So
all they wanted.
right when you think the movie's gonna be fine and over, boom, trash cans get knocked over, and it's Doc, and he's like shit, dude, like grab your girl.
He pops out of his car dressed like a futuristic Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, like Hulk Hogan. No, it's more like Macho Man and Hulk Hogan combined.
Yeah.
It's Ronald McDonald as the
WW Donald.
So he's like, we have to go back to the future, and Marty's like, I don't know what he says, but he's like, where we're going, we don't need roads. And boom, like,
roads?
We don't need roads.
And that's Steven Romo's interpretation of Back to the Future.
That is
Way better than I could have done. Way better.
That was good. You covered a lot.
I could have covered a
information.
lot.
I know you could have. Well, no, and here's the thing about that movie is it's you've said it a couple of times. It's a perfect movie. It was done really well, and it's the first. I don't know. Think about were there a lot of time travel? I guess at that point we had Terminator.
Yeah.
Did we already
that
have
was 84.
Terminator?
Yeah, that was.
Well, I'm talking about the first one. That was 84, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is 85. So I guess we did have some like dabblings with time travel and all, and obviously the time
there was
machine.
always
I know, but what I'm thinking about is just like this kind of an idea, and they did it really well cinematically in terms of like how they directed the photography. All of it, and like it's just
and
played
conceptually
really
as well.
Conceptually as well.
As far as
it's
like,
just really good storytelling.
Yeah.
And fast pace. The pacing is what saves it. There's really not a moment where I'm kind of bored.
No, it's you. Yeah, we said that a couple times. The pacing
It's actually the
perfect.
first Electric Boogaloo Part 2 double feature that I haven't fallen asleep on.
That's true as well. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah. And it's not because you didn't party last night.
No.
I really like this
You
movie.
were everywhere last night.
Was.
Deli, Shays.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was quite a night. Quite a night. I went home early and was asleep by 2:30, but that's me. Yeah, it's a great film. I think that this is kind of the way it transitions into Back to the Future Part 2. It's really kind of similar to like the last episode with Ghostbusters 2, in the sense, except that it's like immediate. But they assume that you've seen the first one. They're not going to give you any
they actually
character
give
development.
they actually sort of backtrack to the point where you
like
just
a
crash
minute.
in. Yeah, they spend like 1 minute where they're repeating the end of the first movie.
Does anyone else want a beer? I'm gonna grab a beer.
Sure.
I'll throw some beer in my
All right,
coffee.
keep telling me.
Whatever beers are there, we will drink them. Today's lunch was Little Caesars hot and ready pizzas and 18 Budweisers. So
Which we did not all consume.
I didn't actually have any of the Budweisers yet, so this will be my first beer.
Crazy.
It'll make for an interesting part 2 of Electric Boogaloo part 2.
Going back to part 2.
Yeah.
There's that 1 minute that they spend of sort of like, in case you didn't see the first movie.
Yeah. But even still, it's just the ending of the first movie.
It's just the ending, and
they
it jumps
expect you
right
to be
into it.
prepared to deal with these
exactly
things.
4 beers.
That's pretty. It's kismet.
How momentous.
It's meant to be.
My beer says America on it.
So does mine.
Maybe that's like a hint that Back to the Future 4 is on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's not. They said they would never do it.
Believe so.
They said they would never do it.
But in my research, Michael J. Fox is still acting. He's in that show, The Good Wife, I guess.
Yeah, I heard he's really deteriorated.
Is he?
So,
That's really unfortunate.
Sad.
Really unfortunate. I grew up loving Michael J. Fox. I grew up watching Family Ties, actually. So Sha-na-na, you didn't.
Terrible.
You did that.
What are other people's memories of Michael J. Fox?
Oh man, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've loved him ever since that.
He was great in that movie, and then in Godzilla.
Godzilla was great. The remake of The Producers.
When he did Titanic, though.
It was great.
I was really into him when he
thought
when he was in The
Ferris Bueller's
Aviator. That was a really challenging role for him.
Good God.
He really went
People.
everywhere with that
People
one.
and
He should have won an Oscar
Your
for it.
misinformation.
Actually, I didn't start really enjoying Michael J. Fox until Spin City.
That's understandable.
Teen Wolf. Immediately,
Teen
I
Wolf,
saw
honestly-
Teen Wolf, and that was it.
Honestly, it was
and a werewolf dunking a
it was Back to the
basketball. I was
Future.
sold.
Like,
Yeah, I think that was the way for a lot of people.
So that was 85, right? Was Back to the Future?
There was 85.
So I was 1 year old, so I never saw Back to the Future 1 naturally in the theater. But
No, I don't think any of us did.
I think the first time I saw it, I was probably like 5.
You saw Back to the Future
Oh,
the
yeah.
original in theater in 1985?
I'm old.
No, well, I know you're older, but at that point I was 4. What were you? You're 5 years old.
I was 8.
You're 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Was
well,
it
then that's
mind-blowing as
acceptable.
fuck?
That one scene at the very end where he's like,
Yeah, I
roads?
saw the third one.
We don't need no roads. And the car flies. I was like, whoa! Like my little 8-year-old brain was like, flying cars are awesome.
As if the DeLorean wasn't already cool
I mean,
enough.
it was all awesome. But then the exclamation point to the awesomest story was like flying car. I'm like, we have to see the next one. And it was like, you knew that there was going to be a sequel after that.
Well, yeah, and that's a debate because
because
we talked
in
about
the
it.
theaters, I don't think it had to be continued, but on
No.
the VHS, it did.
Right.
And that was when you definitely had to see on VHS.
Yeah.
It was like
Well, I definitely
there was those big
didn't see it in the
blockbusters
theater.
movies that you had to the video stores were like a novelty back then, and like when you would go in there, it's like, what are the big blockbusters? And that's what you rented. Back to the Future was definitely one of them.
Yeah, it was number 1 in 1985 with a gross of $210 million. It beat out Rambo: First Blood Part 2,
Beat off Rambo.
beat him off, and Rocky 4. So
But at
that
that
movie,
point,
it's
know,
a
it's
funny,
like-
it's a funny top 3 though.
He 1-2 punch slide.
Yeah.
It was the number 1 movie?
Yeah,
I thought
he.
for some. You were saying
It's
number
the number
2.
one.
Number 2
Number
is
one.
the 5th movie of 1989.
What?
I was thinking it was the 5th grossing movie, but
Oh no,
that
it's
was
the first.
Back to the Future.
It's the
2.
number 1. Back to the Future 1 was number 1. Yeah, Back to the Future 2 had a rough go at it because it was up against Batman, but also it was
Far
number 5.
superior movie.
Yeah, we actually went through this list at the last episode, but that year, Batman, Indiana Jones, Lethal Weapon 2, Look Who's Talking all beat out Back to the Future 2. Look Who's Talking. I know, it's kind of embarrassing. Right?
Ted Danson, shout out.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, no,
That
Ted
was Bruce
Danson
Willis.
is
that was
you're
3 Men
thinking
and a Baby.
3 Men and a Baby.
Yeah.
All my wires
it's
across
easy.
right
It's it's an easy thing to do. No, Look Who's Talking was the talking baby, and that shit was adorable. That was adorable. Yeah, we should definitely do Look Who's Talking 1 and 2.
Yeah, who wants to jump on that?
Just putting the feelers out there.
If any of our many listeners tuning in today have a great
and we will actually do that one on like a stoner holiday or something.
man.
You guys got to smoke a lot of weed to enjoy those movies.
That's rough.
Because I really, it's like suspension of disbelief can only go so far, and then you add weed into the mix, and you're like, talking baby, awesome.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
They don't
Roseanne
actually.
Barr
Let's be
shows up in
fair.
the second one.
The babies don't talk. All right. Actually, they do communicate with each other, which is the confusing thing in Look Who's Talking to.
Babies are
But
telekinetic.
they don't talk. They just have an inner monologue provided by Bruce Willis. I don't understand
Roseanne
why
Barr.
that's so far-fetched.
Hold on, wait. We're going off.
No, we absolutely are.
Tangent.
Yeah.
All right, so let's actually dive into.
Let's dive into it.
Speaking
I want
about
to-
tangents,
I want
that
to
can
touch a
lead
little bit
into
on the Back to the
parallel conversation.
I think we've done it. So yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about Back to the Future 2. Paul, why don't you start it off? I'm sure
Okay.
while you tell the story, somebody will
Yeah,
interject.
jump
do
in
you want a
as much as you want.
synopsis? Or?
Okay, so they end up flying through the
Yes.
sky.
That's amazing.
It opens with clouds, but it's instantaneous, and you're in like a dark sort of sky scene where they have to tell Jennifer that we're actually in a time machine, and this is the year 2015, and so they end up landing, and they have to drop her body off
Because they immediately put her
in
to
an
sleep.
alley.
They're like, hey, by the way,
They're
guys,
like, we can't.
There's a woman in the movie
Yeah,
now.
this woman is
Let's
dead weight.
put her to sleep.
We gotta get rid. And so they
Doc
he has some sort of device, right?
Yeah, he
to
very just like nonchalantly
tases her asleep.
Yeah, electronically roofies is the way I always like to think
right.
about it. Like he pulls out this weird device, shines it in her eyes, and girl goes out like a light, and it's just like, oh shit.
And then they dump her off in an alley. They're like, nah, it's cool.
Well, okay,
It's cool. We have a time machine.
Duh.
yeah, it's pretty messed up. They're like, no, we'll be back in 5 minutes, but even still, we
so
knocked
this
her out.
is, the
leave her
problem
alone.
is they didn't originally know they were going to make a sequel. So that's why she's in the car. That's why she has to be in the car, is because they didn't plan for that.
No.
So they had to essentially just get rid of her because they didn't want her to be a part of the story.
It's true. It's sad, but true.
And
But she ends up being a part of the story. But anyways,
But
that's
it's
coming
a
up.
short part. Yeah.
That's coming up.
Anyway, Marty ends up in a 80s styled cafe and runs into, he sees his son show up after.
Who looks identical to him.
And Biff shows up with his funny hat and his goons, and he's like a hyper exaggerated future version of Biff that shouts like everything.
Now, and I don't know if we've touched on this yet, but the reason that Doc brings Marty to the future is because his kids are going to do something. And that's how the movie was
And go to
ending.
jail for a
Your
long
kids,
period of
Marty!
time.
Your kids, something has to be
It's
done
not
about your
you,
kids.
It's about you.
So that's why Biff is coming to the cafe, because he's trying to see if Marty is still in on this whatever heist or whatever the heck they're doing.
Doc has told Marty to say no.
So the kid gets thrown over the counter somehow.
Yeah, Biff's all bionic and strong.
And
so making those sounds.
and Marty's hiding behind the counter, so
it's perfect.
is he knocked out and at that point? And
Yeah,
then
he's knocked out.
He takes the kid's futuristic multicolored metallic hat and jumps over the counter, and Biff almost gives him a look like, you look a little different, but
he's
whatever.
also wearing a different colored t-shirt.
Yeah.
Was Marty McFly's son played by Michael J. Fox?
Yeah, it's the same. It's Marty. He played his
They
son.
just put
and
some prosthetic teeth.
He
on
played
him.
his son and
They
his
give him
daughter.
some snaggle
Yeah, it
teeth.
was so weird.
They had to keep another female role not filled by a woman.
That's right.
So anyway,
terrible.
he sort of gets in a fight with Biff, punches him, runs away, and so they're running after him, and he finds a girl's hoverboard, which is a very important tool.
Yes, very important.
Which Robert
Of the
Zemeckis for
trilogy.
a long time would say, yes, those are real. We just can't release them for safety reasons.
Yeah, what a jerk.
Yeah, that was kind
Getting
of
all these kids' hopes up.
a
But,
whole generation of kids.
Anyway, Marty, or as they think it is, Marty's son, flees from them and ends up on the water, at which point, I don't know if it's Billy Zane that shouts, "Those boats don't work on water?"
Yeah, there's still a debate. We know that Billy Zane...
Unless you have power.
But it's two guys that
Yeah,
say
the
it.
other
The
guy
line
says
is split in half.
Yeah.
But Billy Zane is definitely one of Biff's thugs when they go back to the past later in the movie.
Anyway, so they do have hoverboards that work on water, and so they chase Marty, who's still trying to like paddle his little foot and get his hoverboard off the water.
And he has dope ass shoes too.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
He ducks at the last minute, and Biff and company end up crashing into this building and
City
end up
Hall.
getting arrested, and
Which
it
changes the
prevents Marty's kid from ending up getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So
Then mission accomplished.
So you at that point...
Mission
at that point, the movie would have been only 15 minutes long.
Right.
So you
and
have
it was
to,
an awesome 15 minutes.
so yeah.
It should have ended
So
right
you
there.
have to make a movie out of it. So
They go back.
they go back to get Jennifer, and she's already getting picked up by the cops, the futuristic looking cops, who say, "Oh, you look young for 47," as it says on when they scan her or whatever. I don't know how they find out.
They use her thumbprint, and
Okay.
the fact that your thumbprint stays the same as you get older, so they scan her and it brings up her ID, and that's when they're like 47. She's got a hell of a facelift, or
So
something.
Marty and Doc have the idea to just they bring her to where her
Where she's
well, the
living
cops,
at.
the cops find her. The cops find her,
and
and the
then-
cops are going to take her home.
Right.
So Doc and Marty have to follow them to the house and get her out before she sees herself.
So
The
that's
movie-
what you think, and here's my biggest about the whole movie. The biggest gripe. That's what you think. This is what's gonna happen in
Right.
the movie,
They
right?
throw you a curveball.
But before they go and pick up, before they go and pick her up in the alley, Marty's like, "Oh, I'm having a good day. Just change the future events, and we're in the clear here. Let me go to this antique store where they have this sports almanac that will tell me all the winning teams from 1985 to 2000.
Very
like
thin
this is going to be important at all." But guess what? It is
the
important.
movie hinges around the book,
It's the catalyst for the
which
entire
is
story.
which is a source of a lot of frustration
Yeah.
for Mr. Miller.
It-
There's no reason a movie should ever circle around a book, especially a book about sports.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's just what a weak plot device. Like they could have gotten personal with it. I mean, they kind of do, but I think they had a lot of fun playing with the fact that like Biff is going like
It's Donald Trump now.
yeah the fact that this is pretty much Biff's movie from this point on.
So yeah, Marty throws the book away, or Doc makes him throw the book away because it'll have catastrophic,
Yeah.
But guess
The
who's
almanac-
listening?
The almanac is the metaphor for the morality of time travel.
Oh,
Heyo.
See, I'm
Oh.
telling
Well
you.
done, sir.
That is,
You.
it's what are you gonna do with this power that you now have? And you can either be a dick and buy this sports
Right.
almanac and go make a whole bunch of money and possibly fuck up everyone's future that you've seen. Like, this is supposed to be set. This is supposed to be what the future is. But if you go back and do that shit, you might, like, blow
Yeah,
everything
you
out
see,
of whack.
but it also could just be lazy writing, and this is what I envisioned. It was like, all right, guys, we have ourselves a hit. We got to make a sequel.
Yeah.
They have like they have a room of like 4 guys like this,
I mean,
and
it
it's
came
like
out 5 years later.
so. If you
4
can go
years
into the future and come back, if you can give yourself one thing from the future, what would it be? And it's like immediately the douchebag speaks up. He's like, yeah, I would like a sports almanac with all the winning records for the next 10 years so that I can bet on all the sweet games and become a gajillionaire.
Yeah, the boss was like, done. That's it.
That's I need to hear no more.
No more.
I don't want the save the girl plot. Fuck that. No, I don't want the I any other possibility. Anyway, they're like, nah. Sports Almanac, we're going with it. Yeah. Biff's a cajillionaire.
Greed is a major,
yeah.
catapult for.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what happens. Biff is old Biff. Yeah, old man Biff is listening while Doc is giving Marty the morality speech of like, this is why you shouldn't do it. You're gonna like mess. We're not doing this for profit, and then throws it in the trash. They step off frame. And then step on frame is old Biff, and he's like, I will show them. Yeah. And then apparently when they go and save her from the future house, or that's when Biff steps in the old time machine.
That's actually where we are in the synopsis too.
Yeah. So yeah, they go back and Biff's.
It
Biff
turns
is
out
Donald
they're in
Trump.
the wrong 1985.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Marty tries to get into his house, and it's not his house. It belongs to a black family, and
dude has a baseball bat.
Yeah, he gets chased with a baseball bat.
He is not afraid
Marty,
to swing on his own property.
Very cleverly eludes every baseball bat swing.
Yeah, but seriously.
Ends up.
That's a bad shot.
He ends up at the Biff man.
Well, he's just wandering. He's just wandering around Hill Valley, trying to figure out what the hell's going on because everything's different. And so, as he's wandering through town square, where the clock tower used to be, is now a Trump-esque tower with a ridiculous neon sign of Biff's head, and it's like Biff Palace, I think.
I didn't realize that was where the tower used to be.
Biff's.
I'm pretty sure it's the center of town. Okay. So, and he's like lighting a cigar with a wad of money on the tower. It's ridiculous. And as he walks up to the building, there's a museum at the bottom of the tower, and they're showing a video of welcome to the Biff Tamblyn, what's his last name? Tannen, yeah, Biff Tannen Museum, and it's going through the story of how he made his fortune, starting when he was 18 on a horse race, and just kept going forward and forward in that, and then at that point, Biff's thugs find him, and for some reason,
one of which we think is Billy Zane.
One of which we are pretty convinced is Billy Zane. They knock him out and take him upstairs to the top of the tower. And when he wakes up, his mom is there comforting him. And so it's a throwback to the first one.
Yeah.
When he, after he gets hit by his grandfather in the street, and his mom wakes him up as a teenager.
Yeah.
Now he's being woken up by his mom, but she's got all kinds of implanted breastises.
It's a different mom.
Bigger chestises.
Pretty exciting prosthetic. Breast situation.
It looks like the same special effects team that did the 3-breasted woman in Total Recall.
I was thinking.
But yeah.
Breast ink?
Breast ink. Yeah, no. Industrial Light and Boobs.
We quickly learned that Biff and what's her name?
Lorraine.
Lorraine's relationship is completely sour.
Yes. It's not happy at all.
And what happens next?
She actually splits. She's like, that's it.
She's trying to leave, and then she realized
she can't because he's supporting.
He has all the money.
Yeah, and so it's this horrible
he's holding her hostage.
Yeah, it's a horrible situation. She's dug herself a hole, and we come to find out that the reason that she's with her is because George McFly at some point was murdered, and
Cut to Marty in a cemetery.
Cut to Marty.
And it's raining.
And of course, Marty has to go. It's like, I must see my father's grave.
Yeah.
And then as he's doing that,
guess
who shows up?
Doc just shows up. I thought you might be here.
All right. Yeah. I think this would be the perfect time to
dun dun dun.
Take a break.
This probably is a good time.
Because we're almost like 40 minutes in.
What?
I know.
We did.
Oh no, we're not going to cut out anything.
All right then. Well, yes, that's a good idea. Let's take a quick break. Here's a little bit of that Back to the Future 2 booty mix, and
yeah. Oh, you love it.
That's
Steven, you're the biggest fan of his dope beats.
All right, let's take a break. Go get another beer. We're gonna be back here in a second.
Football's don't work on water! 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 wallet. I think he took his 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 wallet.
So the cat is jumping into our 18-pack of Budweiser, which is now empty.
He loves boxes. He really does.
He loves America too, obviously.
Yeah.
So where we left off.
Doc finds Marty in the
Welcome.
graveyard.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. We're back with yet another exciting round of Electric Boogaloo Part 2. This would be Part 2 of Electric Boogaloo Part 2. We're still talking about Back to the Future Part 2. The second half of Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
So yes, where we left you last, the big reveal that Marty McFly's father, in this alternate reality that we've found him in, has been murdered. We find him at his gravestone, and who should show up behind him?
Great Scott.
Doc Brown. So at that point, Doc takes Marty back to his dilapidated garage where he's living now. Everything's totally burned out. It's totally a loss. Einstein, he had run away. He
Dystopian.
Yes, dystopian future.
Which
past.
still looks like a better than like modern day Detroit, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, let's not squabble. Hill Valley was a pretty up and coming city, so
yeah.
all of a sudden it's looking like it's in squalor. So at that point, Marty's like, "What the hell's going on? We came back to the same place, didn't we? Where are we?" And Doc has to break it down for him, and this is a very poignant moment for a lot of nerds out there that are really into comics or sci-fi. Doc Brown breaks out a chalkboard and in very simple terms shows Marty how, if you look at this is the original timeline.
Straight line.
Yeah, straight line. We start here in 1985. We went to 2015. At some point between the time that we left and before that, somehow our timeline skewed down into this alternate reality. And so we got to figure out how exactly that happened. Marty's like, what could have gone wrong? Doc reaches into the DeLorean, and lo and behold...
He pulls out a gat.
He pulls out a gat and shoots Marty and says, "It's your fault! You did this!" No. What he pulls out is the bag with the receipt from the almanac that is so important to this whole story.
It's the nucleus.
It's like
it's
I
the
said.
hinge.
It is the the
Fulcrum?
the apple of knowledge in the Garden of Eden, so to speak. So Doc basically says, yeah, you done fucked shit up, Marty. By buying this almanac, somebody went back in the past and
Well,
altered
he
reality.
knows, and he
Well,
pulls
yeah,
out
but
the cane.
he's like, well, who could have done it? And he pulls out the cane head. And sure enough, it's old Biff.
It was
from
Colonel
the future
Mustard in the kitchen.
with the cane head.
Yes.
It
Old
actually
man Biff in the DeLorean.
with the cane head.
Yes.
So now we come to understand that while Marty and Doc were trying to save Marty's girlfriend, Biff stole the time machine, went back in time, gave himself, his younger self, the almanac, and now this future is kind of, at least Hill Valley, is run by Biff Tannen. So what they talk about at that point is, well, how do we know when he got the almanac? The only way to find out is for his stepson to go and confront him about it. So Marty McFly stomps up back into Biff's palace, confronts him while he's in the hot tub with two hot ladies, which for some reason his wife has no problem
issue
with.
with.
We've already established she's being held captive. She has no power to stop him
It's really unfortunate
hanging out
situation for her.
with two different women in a hot tub. And then Biff reaches into the old safe,
Yeah,
starts telling the story.
breaks down this awesome tale.
Like, November 5th, 1955. Or is it November 12th?
I think it's November 12th.
November
'cause
12th,
it's-
1955. Some guy comes up to me, says he's my relative, hands me this. Then I started placing bets. And then he said if some crazy scientists and some young kids start asking questions, and he pulls out a gun and starts to...
Try to shoot Marty.
Yeah, and he's a terrible shot.
And he's
of
as
course.
bad a shot as that guy was with his
Oh, and
bat.
we find out who really killed George, and it was Biff. He's like, 2 McFlys with the same gun.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Right.
damn.
Which is shocking.
Which is
Never
not
saw
shocking.
that coming.
No.
So at that point, Marty now has the information that he needs. They know, okay, so that's the time when Biff gets the almanac. And he also realizes that's the same day of the big storm in Hill Valley, and also realizes that's the day that I'm actually going to have to go back to the future. Which, by the way, people always complain about the fact that the first one's called Back to the Future, but that's what he's trying to do the entire movie. Let's go back to the future.
But
You're
more
right.
like Back to the Present of when he originally was.
I suppose.
But that's a terrible movie
That's
title.
Back to the Present.
Yeah.
Back to the present time of where we was at the beginning.
Yeah.
Part
that's
one.
Not, that's not such good.
So yes, with said information, now Marty and Doc just immediately zoom back to 1955 and try to figure out a way to intercept the almanac after old Biff gives it to young Biff.
They don't want old Biff to know.
Exactly. They don't want old Biff to know. So that's basically what the rest of the movie is about, is Marty trying to get the almanac
Yeah,
back
and failing miserable. There's so many times where he could have just grabbed it, kicked some. He could have went in by force. He could have just grabbed a baseball bat, kicked the living shit out of Biff, grabbed the almanac, go back to the future. Boom, we're done. Movie done. But they're like, no, we gotta drag this out because you know what else is really important
Well, he
besides
doesn't
that
want
almanac?
Yeah. He
That
doesn't
damn
want to alter
hoverboard.
the course of history by
Yeah,
kicking his ass, I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at that point.
He's also a little dude. I mean, Michael
Except
Bay-
he does punch him, so I guess he...
Eventually,
Yeah.
he does punch him.
Eventually,
So what's
yeah.
cool about going back to 1955 is the film now has re-entered the original Back to the Future
Yeah.
movie, which is something that I don't think has been done before or since.
Not really, not to that extent.
I mean, I can't think of any movies, at least.
That touch on the same.
No, that
exact-
go back into their first movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, see the exact same scenes.
Yeah.
Live in the exact same scenes.
And have a totally different story going on.
And you see
with
it all
those
from a
things.
different perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's a
really
totally
cool.
rad idea.
It is a rad
Crazy
Really
idea.
Awesome concept.
It's the best part is the concept. Except why does it have to be about a stupid almanac? I don't know, man.
It's good.
I guess I'm just personally
It's
hung up
temptation.
about this. Yeah.
What would you do in that situation?
I know.
It's putting the mirror up to society, man.
Yeah.
Oh dang! Whoa.
Almanac is not just an almanac, like Taj said.
Yeah.
It is
It represents the corporate greed of America.
That's right.
By the way, he
Right.
totally takes his hoverboard back.
I know
to
he takes a
55.
lot of stuff.
Okay, so maybe
Which is
that-
like that's $1 billion idea right there. You can grab any object from the future, bring it back,
Yeah.
and then you can try to make money off of that. But I guess it's just let's focus on the almanac.
Yeah.
Let's just focus on that almanac.
Yeah. But that whole sequence is really fun. Watching him kind of tiptoe around himself the other scene, because eventually they have to go back to the enchantment under the sea dance.
That's the dog. If you
Is that the
heard, that's not me.
No, that's not you.
Okay, good job, Vandal. Thank you for alerting me
Thank you for
that
joining us
people
for a
are
moment.
outside the door. Very good.
Okay,
Good dog.
so
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't even know exactly where I was. But at that point, yeah, we get to see him tiptoeing around himself from the first
Yeah.
movie, and he
Well,
actually
and there
ends
is
up.
a point where he does just punch Biff and
Yeah.
takes the almanac.
And it's a great moment.
It's a great moment because
so it's right after George McFly had punched him.
Yeah.
In the first.
It's his first opportunity to actually get the almanac away from Biff, because he's been knocked out. He's laying on the ground.
and he's like, "Let me perform CPR," and the guy next to him is like, "What's CPR?"
'Cause
And
it
he
wasn't
just
invented
smacks
yet.
him right in the face, right? And then he grabs the almanac, and then the guy says,
I think he just took that guy's wallet.
"Yeah,
I think he took his
I
wallet.
think he took his wallet."
Hey, did you just take the guy's wallet?
I think
Yeah.
he took his
I think
wallet.
it's his wallet.
And he looks into the camera and says, "I think he took his wallet."
It's great. It's a great moment, and it happens twice. The second time really, really hammers it home with the camera glance. I think he took his wallet.
Nods.
Really-
Nods.
It's really an amazing moment in the film. But anyhow, at that point, we think that he's going to get away with it. He's got the almanac. He's back inside the dance. He's trying to get to the roof of the building to meet up with Doc. But because of the circumstances that the guys know that they're trying to beat him up, while Biff's unconscious, his gang of hooligans is actually after Marty. They get back inside the dance hall, and they see Marty up on stage playing Johnny Be Good. So they're totally confused. They're like, how did he get up on stage so quick? So they decide they're going to go stand side stage and wait for him. And
To
when he
finish
comes
his
off,
song so they could beat him up.
so they can beat him up, which it's considerate of a gang of hooligans.
We've all played numerous shows in our lives.
Yes,
And
all of us.
We've all had a moment where we're playing a set, and there's a gang of hooligans side stage where
Yeah,
they beat the
and
shit
you know
out
what? Every time that happens, I'm like, boy, I wish there was like just like a ton of sandbags being held together by a rope hanging from the rafters
That future
with
Steven
like
Romo
with a
thing.
knot that could just be like grabbed on at one
Yeah.
point,
Not a
and then
theater
they
knot.
just fall on the hooligans
As all of
like
you
a
that
big
work in
old
theaters.
cartoon. And guess what? That's exactly what happens in this
He-
movie.
He Bugs Bunny'd their ass.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
climbs
It's a great
up on the
moment.
ladder
twice.
over the performance.
That is the great thing about that moment is that he drops the sandbags on them, then he uses the rope and the sandbags weight to like get back down to the floor of the stage.
Like,
and then
like the
drops
sandbags
it on
weren't
the-
attached to anything anyways.
Right.
Like it had no other purpose other than
No.
to fall on a group of hooligans.
It was tied to a pipe. You'd think that pipe
Pipe
would all of a sudden
had some importance. Nope.
Yeah,
it was
no,
just tied there.
It was just tied there. So yeah, at that point he actually saves his past self from getting jumped by that gang of hooligans so that he can continue his past mission of just getting back to the present or the future.
Or his past mission getting his
Oh
parents
man,
to kiss.
now it's getting crazy.
Exactly, which at that point they already had because of Earth Angel.
Oh.
But because he's already on.
Oh,
Johnny
he's
Be
on
Good.
Johnny Be Good.
He's on Johnny Be
Which
Good.
is also, we figured out that it's the B-side of a Penguins album.
Oh my god.
The Penguins single for Hey Senorita was
Which
the
is a
A side.
classic. It's a
The
classic.
B side was Earth Angel, which
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point in time, once it became a hit, flipped and Earth Angel became an A side.
Right. It's the slow dance number. Hey Senorita was more of a kind of a
Blues, rock.
club rocker. It was a
Yeah.
fun song, but we did check that out earlier today.
It was
as
a
well.
club banger, if you will.
Club banger. A romp.
Shout out to the Penguins if you're listening.
Seriously, check them out. The Penguins. What was it? It
If
was
you
like
guys are still alive.
cool Penguins.
They're
What was it? What was the record called?
Probably
Yeah,
not.
there was a cool Penguins.
It's a great
they
cover.
had a penguin with them and a block of ice. You can totally Google image search this.
Yes, it's an amazing thing. But the Penguins playing their rendition.
But like John Mulaney said, so this movie is actually the first movie is trying to tell people that a white person actually wrote Johnny B. Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take that from you guys too.
Yeah.
But so after he saves on stage Marty, he is confronted by Biff.
Yet again, Biff's
Yeah.
just not giving up.
Biff-
Biff, if anything, I will say this about Biff Tannen: he does not give up. Well, until he gets punched by George McFly. And then
Oh,
gets
actually, he usually gives up when manure is involved.
Well, he hates manure.
That's
He
his last-
states that on
hates
several
manure, yeah.
occasions.
It's his last straw.
Yeah. So at that point, Biff gets the almanac back. Marty meets up with Doc and says, "Now we got to chase down Biff one more time to get this almanac back."
And
I
I
guess
literally,
it's
at
like-
this point in the movie, it's like, how can we end this with a chase scene involving a hoverboard?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Which is
boy, do they
amazing.
ever.
Yeah.
Biff ends up heading down a tunnel.
Yeah.
A lot of hoverboard action ensues.
Oh, yeah.
Marty, of course, ends up getting the almanac back just in the nick of time.
Right.
Doc sends some flags
Yeah.
down from his
They're the flags.
DeLorean.
Flags
I'm pretty
and
sure they're the
ropes.
flags from the sign that they always
Yeah,
park behind.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Behind the
Pulls
DeLorean is
Marty
actually
into the
55.
sky. Biff looks up like, what the heck? Then, of course, runs into a manure truck, as
Yeah.
he is
Yeah.
always.
'Cause that's what
And
happens
so,
That is
One-
and so, and here's a weird part of the movie. Where it's like at the very end, and there's like a crazy storm happening, right? Biff is taken down. They're about to fly back. And a crazy storm happens, and all of a sudden lightning strikes. Doc is gone.
Yeah.
Just
Gone.
completely
Gone, baby,
gone.
gone. The Doc.
Marty's
is gone.
still stuck in 1955.
Backwards nines in the air.
Backwards nuts
Yeah,
in
weird.
the air.
Yeah.
99.
But if you flip them upside down,
They're
it's
sixes.
66.
It's 2/3 of 66.
Right?
So.
66. And what runs through the amazing Old West Highway 66?
There you
Are
go.
we coming up with a theme here? I don't know. I'm just
I don't
making
know.
this shit up.
This could be something.
So,
Yeah, but
old-
anyways.
Old, not too old, man drives down this apparently deserted highway and
Right.
uh,
It's It's pouring rain at this point, by the way.
Pouring rain approaches Marty and says,
It's like, are you Marty
"Are you
McFly?
Marty McFly?" And he says, "Yeah." And he's like, "I've got something for you. It's a letter." He's like, turns out the letter's been in the post office's possession for 70 years.
70 years.
Because that's something the post office does.
Yeah.
And
they were like, go to this location at this time and meet this guy.
Yeah. You have a task, post office, but it's not for 70 years, so don't worry about it. But, yeah. Anyway, he finds out, it's from the dock! It's from the dock! And Doc explains where he's writing him from in 1885.
Right.
And then what happens? Is the movie just ends?
Well, at that point, he's got that information, and so he realizes he has to go find Doc again, because the only person that can help him get back to 1885...
Why does he have to get back to 1885?
To save Doc.
Oh, because Doc is in trouble with
well, at that point,
old
and this
Grandpa
isn't
Bill.
Because when he got lightninged into time travel, the lightning took him to 1885.
Yeah, basically what happened, it shorted out the time circuits in the time machine. So what Doc does...
So it's a mistake.
And this is...
Mistake.
This
So
is
he
us,
needs help.
This is us kind of delving into Back to the Future 3 a little bit, but I'll go ahead and indulge it. If we had read the entirety of the letter, it explains that Doc has buried the time machine and that there are parts in 1955 that will equate to the parts that he needed to rebuild the time machine. So he wants Marty to do that and come back to 1885 to bring him
Which
back.
is the second lazy or just like off the cuff meeting thing that happened. We're like, we got to do a sequel. Well, why don't we do the third movie
the same as
and
the first
film it at the same time?
Yeah.
So what would you do? I'd get an almanac and bet on all the sports games, and then like they're like, done, we're done. And then as they're leaving the room, the guy's still little wimpy guy. He's like, but I wanted to go to the Old West. And then the guy turns like Robert Zemeckis turns around. He's like, wait a minute, did you say Old West?
Yeah.
That's a brilliant idea. We gotta go through with that.
It's a good Western.
It's a good Western.
So the thing that I'm still confused about, was there 2 DeLoreans?
What do you mean?
No, there's only one DeLorean, but there's a time where the DeLorean from Parallel Universe A or...
I can break it down pretty easily.
Yeah.
So, okay, Doc gets struck by lightning in 1955.
When Doc sees himself and he's like, hey, give me when Doc sees himself setting things up, there was a DeLorean that...
that was the original DeLorean from movie A.
So
timeline A.
So it's an alternate universe Marty that goes back to...
No. It's the same universe. Let me try to break it down for you. That DeLorean is from Back to the Future 1.
Wait, Taj, do you have a chalkboard around here? Because apparently Doc did... Just out of nowhere, he's like, hold on, where's my chalkboard?
I will break this down real simply. That is the DeLorean from Back to the Future 1. It's in 1955 because that's what happens in the plot of Back to the Future 1. Now, at the end of Back to the Future 1, the DeLorean goes back to 1985.
Right.
At which point the Doc gets it and goes to the future.
Right.
So then Doc comes back from the future, gets the DeLorean, picks up Marty. They end up going back to 1955 to get the almanac. So that is the DeLorean that Doc is working on for Marty is the DeLorean that it's the past version of the DeLorean that Doc and Marty are using in Back to the Future 2. Because they're actually a couple days in the future. I guess that wasn't as clear.
That's what I like about Back to the Future 2 is it gets so convoluted.
It can get pretty convoluted
and confusing as to like.
It's no primer.
But but I mean,
let's be fair.
There's multiple people now. There's multiple vehicles.
If you've seen Primer, you have seen the most confusing time travel movie of all time.
I dug it.
It's great, but I have actually done the research online. I've tried to follow all those different timelines to explain it. What the hell is that? Like how many guys are actually in play in that whole thing? But anyhow, that's a different movie entirely.
Well, now that we've gone over both movies, let's conclude and let's do the topic at hand. Which movie is better? 1 or 2?
Damn.
Which movie is better, or which movie do you enjoy?
Or which movie is worse?
Which movie is worse? Well,
I know everyone's gonna. I can't even disagree that the second movie is,
like inherently, objectively better than the first movie.
I can't. I can't see that the second movie is better, but there's just a lot of things that I enjoy more about it.
Yeah.
The first movie is a perfect movie. I mean, it
was
really
really
is
well done.
paced perfectly.
Yeah.
Characters, awesome.
There is one main goal throughout that movie, and that goal is to get Marty back to his timeline. And that is a really clear plot. And I get what you're saying about I don't understand why the plot of part 2 is about an almanac. I get what you're saying.
It takes a very long time to get there in the second movie. It takes a long time to figure out where you're even going.
It's true.
At first you're thinking it's about his kids, and then you're like, well, you're going to save the girl. And then it's like, oh, wait, Almanac and Biff
it's more about
into Donald
saving the world.
Yes.
From becoming a terrible
or at
dystopian
least their
place.
world. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, their city is really what it's saving.
I don't know if the
It
whole...
makes you wonder, like, if there was a ripple effect that impacted the whole world, or was it just Hill Valley that ended up shitty?
It's pretty, like, generally considered that Biff's dystopian character is modeled after Donald Trump.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
it's
got
literally like
hair.
It's a combination of like Donald Trump and like Scarface, like the '80s Oliver Stone Scarface, whatever, you know. Like it's the same. It's a combination of those two.
Right.
And in that case, I mean, then you know the almanac doesn't really matter.
So another thing that the directors mentioned on their commentary of the movie is how they went for the classic sequel being the dark film of the trilogy, which it clearly is.
Yeah, it ends on a cliffhanger.
Just like Return of the Jedi.
Absolutely.
Or Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back.
My fault.
Yeah, Return of the Empire. It's Back to the Future, so how dark can it
doesn't get that dark. You don't ever see anyone's throat get slit.
It's still family fun, but it's a dark family film. And, you know, it does really follow that same concept of, like, the first one was fun, it could have been a standalone, like, you know, the second one, things kind of wacky, and then the third one really brings it all home with, like, a really wholesome story about love. They had a lot of ideas. That's what it really feels like. Like, when they were writing, they had a lot of ideas, and they went so far as to write 2 movies worth of material, and they filmed both back to back. They released one in 89, they released the second one in 90, and it's just, you know, it was obvious that they had a lot of stuff they really wanted to include, and they just, it feels, I will admit, even as somebody that really loves Back to the Future 2, I will admit that it feels claustrophobic at times, just because there's so much, like, now we gotta do this, now we gotta do that, now we gotta go here, now we gotta go there.
Scatterbrained.
It is pretty scatterbrained, and, like, looking back on it now, in comparison to when I saw it when I was a kid, I can see why. I really loved it as a kid. Like, all the little things that really made me, you know...
And there's a hoverboard in it.
There's a hoverboard, the car flies through the whole thing, they go to the future, you know...
Yeah, and they spent a lot of time just, like...
The Cubs won the World Series.
Yeah, that was very
they
important.
spent a lot of time doing this whole
Miami.
speculative future thing.
Yeah.
What did you... Why did you do that?
It's not the door. He didn't knock on the door. I knocked on the bookshelf to knock on wood for the Cubbies, you guys, and the dog went cray.
I wish we would have put some money down for the Cubbies. Which, by the way, the guy that's...
Hold on, quit talking. I have to talk to my dog here. Hey, Vandal. It's all right, dude. There's nobody at the door. You don't have to freak out. Okay.
Miller's a dog whisperer, man.
Okay, good. We're good. All right. Oh boy.
The guy
that was close.
The guy that was taking donations at the clock tower is shaking the can in the future, or asking Marty for his thumbprint for $100, is Charles Fleischer, who actually is the voice of Roger Rabbit, which is important because Robert Zemeckis also directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So there's kind of like a tie-in, like because when we were watching the movie, I was like, why didn't they just hire an old actor? Like, why did they get this younger guy and, like, put him in all this makeup for such a small role? Like, it's just the guy, like, taking donations for the clock tower.
I mean, that's one thing I do have to say about Back to the Future 2 that I liked more than the original is it seemed like all the actors were having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like Michael J. Fox is like, well, why don't I play my sister and my brother, too? Wouldn't that be fun?
Reason for him to play a sister.
Yes, let's go with that.
It was almost like they're just bragging about the fact that they had that technology.
Split screen or tri-screen, whatever it was.
Yeah.
They mentioned like a new camera I think, to
Yeah,
to
I'm
film
pretty
those
sure.
scenes.
I'm pretty sure you're right. They did this whole kind of like tracked camera movement so that they could film the scene and have the cameras moving at the same pace during both shots, and then they did like a composite of those scenes. But what's really cool about this film is it's like really kind of the end of the rotoscope era of special effects too. And we were pointing it out, that scene where the DeLorean's coming down for landing, like at the very end of the movie, and it's going from flying to hitting the road. Yeah, it's smooth, you know, and that was Industrial Light and Magic.
It's a visually beautiful movie.
It is. It's great. You know, even the stuff that now you can look at, like, you know, hoverboard scene when he's rocking it out in the tunnel. But yeah, I think that it was pretty well done. It didn't fare well the year it was released, but the original was number one in its time.
Rightfully so.
It was in the top 5.
Ultimately, its budget was $40 million, and worldwide it ended up grossing $332.
It's kind of successful.
It's a good return.
You know, and the general rating on it from Metascore is 7.8. I couldn't find like a Rotten Tomato review. I was really kind of shocked by that.
Huh?
But all of the big papers gave it kind of a B+. I don't know.
Like I said, the only criticism I have, and I blame it on the almanac, but it does take like 45 minutes to get to the point.
It does. It's a half an hour before Biff steals the time machine, and then it's an hour before Doc explains alternate realities. So it does take a sec to get there. There's a lot going on, though. So if you're not so tied down by the idea of, like, oh, is it about the kids? Oh, is it about the girlfriend? Oh, now it's about the almanac? Like, if you could just enjoy each moment for what it is, it's a lot of fun. It's really a fast-paced flick. I would definitely still recommend it, although I would say that, in my opinion, number one is the classic, obviously.
You can't beat perfection, man.
You can't. But, you know, going back, it's still
Sophomore
kind of
slump.
it's that nostalgia factor that always brings me back to those movies. But you know what's weird is that I don't have that for Back to the Future 3. Maybe it's just because I'm not a huge Western guy, but I totally have hardcore nostalgia for Back to the Future 2 more than Back to the Future 3.
And Back to the Future 3 is the one that I actually saw in the theater.
Yeah, me too.
The Park Mall Man Theater.
Yeah, me too.
With my dad.
You guys are youngins.
Yeah.
That's.
In '89, I was 8.
It was probably still, like, I think it was still in the theater and it was 1991. Like, back in the early 90s, sometimes movies would just stay in the theaters for a long time.
It's true.
Well, I guess we've kind of covered it for...
It's all true.
Well, I guess we kind of covered it all for this month's edition of Electric Boogaloo Part 2. First off, I'd like to thank our guest, Paul Jenkins, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for actually
insights.
talking
Yeah.
and, you know,
Again, if
sitting in a room with us watching a lot of movies.
It was fun. We really enjoyed it. This was hard for Paul. He doesn't like to be trapped in one room for so many hours.
Getting claustrophobic.
We held him hostage today, so we really appreciate it. Of course, thank you to my wonderful co-host, Steven Romo.
Thank you.
Even with the rambling synopsis, it was still quite enjoyable to have you here. I know you didn't really enjoy the movies, though. Like, you throughout, too, were saying, this is a horrible movie.
I didn't like Part 2.
Yeah, that's fine. We want to hear that. We want to hear your actual opinions. But yes, it was a rough day for us today. And then, of course, we have to thank our producer, Justin Miller, for being here to record us and hosting us in his beautiful Barrio Viejo house.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
adding his insights as he always will be known to do.
Thanks for the beers, guys. This is the last one here, right? Hold on.
Now that's a good soundbite.
Yeah, it is.
On that note, we'll see you next time on Electric Boogaloo Part 2.
See ya.